Evan's Journey to Life. As within, so without, day 12. In this post, we're continuing with how we created this physical existence as the mirror of ourselves, investigating the mechanics of the principle as within, so without, walking from the beginning of our existence within existence to where we are now as the mind within a physical body in this physical existence, and how we individually and together created, manifested who, what, where, how, and when we are now through the relationships we've created throughout time, throughout lives. How those relationship creations became the starting point of our participation in existence, and each relationship that we created reverberated, resonated, manifested as a ripple effect throughout within the equal and one substance of and as ourselves. So as we experience the relationship, it manifests within and as substance as a mirror. So the momentary experience of a relationship would manifest as an eternal imprint within and as substance. Have a look. See for a moment in the beginning where we were one bubble of substance. From that one bubble of substance, we separated ourselves into smaller bubbles within that one bubble. We, as those smaller bubbles, were still part of that one bubble of an as substance. But because of the separation, we only perceived ourselves as a small bubble in a larger bubble. As that small bubble, we started creating relationships to and towards all the other smaller bubbles and the larger bubble, not realizing, seeing, and understanding that that smaller bubble and the larger bubble is in fact us, parts of us in equality and oneness. So in that separation, we started creating relationships from the experiences we were having through the friction we created in that constant and continuous separation from and of the smaller bubbles and the larger bubble. Like every time we'd bump against the smaller bubbles and the larger bubble, that would create a friction as an experience that we transform into energy, and how we interpreted that moment of friction experience towards that part bubble of and as ourselves. Now, every moment we experienced a friction with an experience and defined it into energy. That very friction experience as energy manifested within us as our smaller bubble substance, imprinted into our substance as the smaller bubble, and resonated into and throughout the substance of as the larger bubble. We did not see, realize, understand that we were simultaneously creating ourselves within and without, because we were in separation, preoccupied within our only our small bubble as ourselves. If one listened to the Atlantean series, they walk in detail how we in the beginning started with relationship creations towards ourselves as existence, how these relationship creations manifested into our beingness as the smaller bubbles as ourselves, and imprinted, manifested as relationship networks, unified fields within the physicals as of beings. These relationship networks, unified fields, manifested simultaneously in the small and in the larger, as we used substance, equality, and oneness and transformed it internally and externally into relationships of separation, categorized, organized into networks and unified fields, to where we are now within this physical existence, where this physical existence is a manifestation of layers of time, as we throughout time, individually and together, created relationships as networks, unified fields, as the more and more we continued throughout our lives creating relationships, manifesting network fields that would imprint and manifest into our individual small bubble substance and also the large bubble of an as existence. All these networks, fields, would layer, build, accumulate within the larger bubble, and so the process of solidification manifested. That whether we created, imprinted, manifested within our smaller bubble would leave an internal imprint manifestation within as the larger bubble. And as we rebirth into existence, we rebirth into the network's unified fields as relationships, creations we left behind within our previous lives. So we created, manifested this physical existence that is an accumulation of layers of relationship creations of networks, fields, grid lines that manifested into solidity. So, this physical existence is the larger bubble of as substance that we created, manifested as the without of ourselves. And we, as human beings, in and as our human physical bodies, is the smaller bubbles, still in accepted and allowed separation from of ourselves as the physical substance, and still not seeing, realizing, and understanding how what we accept and allow within ourselves, we equally as one accept and allow and manifest, imprint, and create in the without of and as ourselves. As we continue within these posts in this blog, more of this will become clear in how we throughout time created the without from the within, equal in one, to where we are now, with how this physical existence is an exact equal in one representation of and as who we are within. As we walk the relationship of us, the mind consciousness system of energy, and the world system of money, as the within and without of ourselves, as our relationship creations within the mind energy, how those relationship creations within with ourselves as the mind energy created and manifested the world system of money, and our relationship creations towards the world system of money. How we all walked this individually and together and created, manifested this physical existence and ourselves as we exist today. I forgive myself that I've accepted and allowed myself to separate myself from and of the substance of me as manifested equality and oneness that established me into and as a position of not seeing, realizing, and understanding my origin source as substance of and as equality and oneness, and that whatever I do, accept, allow within me, manifest in and as the without as me. In this, I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand how every moment I went into friction towards a part of me within and as substance, that moment, that friction transformed into an experience, and I defined it into and as energy that manifested imprint as a relationship line within my very beingness. It equally as one manifested, imprinted into and as the substance of as me, as existence as a whole. And as I continued accepting and allowing myself to participate within the starting point of and as that relationship line within as my beingness, it constantly and continuously resonated within and through substance as me. And in that constant continuous resonance, reverberation, ripple effect within and throughout substance, continued conditioned substance as me to form, shape, manifest itself equal to and one with how I was in the process of forming, manifesting, shaping me through my relationship manifestation and experiences within myself. In this, I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand how I still within this physical existence accept and allow the exact same starting point and conditioning of my within and without. As I accept and allow myself to approach this world system of money within and as the relationship creation I manifested, imprinted within me as my mind consciousness system of as energy. I condition my participation in and as this physical existence within and as the world system of money to maintain my relationship towards the world system of money. And according to how I created my relationships towards the world system of money, I live out those relationships. And so keep myself and my world and this world, the world system of money, intact, without change. Not seeing, realizing, and understanding that whatever relationships I create within me and live out as me through the mind and the physical is what is holding, keeping this world system of money in place, as is without change. And so I am directly and indirectly participating, accepting, and allowing this world system of money to remain as is, contributing to its current existence manifestation because of my acceptance and allowance of my relationship creations towards it within myself. I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand how it was in fact me throughout time that created my without from my within. that I've been the cause, source, origin of what the without as me, as this existence had become, that I'd accepted and allowed myself to separate me from substance as manifested equality and oneness. And instead of utilizing substance and living, expressing in as equality and oneness with and as all as me, and creating, manifesting an existence of and as life, expressing, living, I accepted and allowed myself to utilize this substance of as equality and oneness to only create, manifest my life, my living of an as energy. In this, I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand that in me being the source, cause, origin of creation, that whatever I create, do manifest, will manifest as my creation within throughout existence. So, as I utilize substance within myself to create relationships of experience as energy, these very relationships manifested, imprinted into an as substance as me within and without. And so me and all of and as me manifested into and as an existence of relationships of experience as energy that evolved into networked unified fields and grid line structures. These very networks, unified fields, grid line structures that manifested, imprinted within and as the substance of and as existence as a whole, became my creation of me as an individual and altogether that had been throughout our lives within and as existence, created, manifested, imprinted all of our relationship creations towards existence as a whole in and as existence itself. Not seeing, realizing, and understanding that whatever relationship we created within ourselves towards parts of ourselves within existence as we walk through our individual lives within existence, those relationships would imprint manifested within and as the existential substance of as ourselves for eternity. And so I forgive myself that I've accepted and allowed myself to, instead of living together, creating together, and expressing together as life within and as existence, in as equality and oneness, we utilize our lives within existence to create, manifest, imprint relationship creations of separation, experience, energy that imprinted and manifested into networks, unified fields, grid line structures, where our creation as substance of existence became a manifestation, building, accumulation of relationships of an as separation. Every rebirth into existence becoming a process of furthering the separation of and as ourselves from and of substance as ourselves. As we transform the manifested equality and oneness of and as substance into and as network grid lines, unified fields as relationships of and as separation. In this, I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand how I still exist within this starting point of using, abusing substance of an as equality and oneness to create my relationships of experiences as energy within and as my mind consciousness system. How within this physical existence, I, in my participation in this world, utilize what I see, interact with in and as physical existence, and create my experiences of and as energy towards it within my mind. In this, becoming an individual within this world, on this earth, that further and continues self-separation and separation from and of all as me, within and as this processes of internal relationship creations. And so, live in this world within and as my experiences towards it within and as my mind consciousness system. In this, I became a living example of separation for those to come, and so continue solidifying, imprinting, manifesting the processes of creating relationships towards all as me in separation from and of me. That the children of this world follow according to how I live out my separation and relationships. And so we continue, generation after generation, using, abusing this physical existence for only ourselves as a mind to experience itself as energy, not realizing, seeing, and understanding that this physical existence is in fact ourselves, our own creation, and that we were supposed to exist within as with it in equality and oneness as ourselves. I forgive myself that I've accepted and allowed myself to use and abuse substance, the manifested equality and oneness of and as me as all, to create my own relationships of separation, two towards all as me, within the nature experience of an as positivity, neutrality, and negativity that had become my accepted and allowed definition of an as living, within and as this existence, and manifested, evolved into an as a mind consciousness system. So instead of walking, living, expressing with an as substance of an as equality and oneness as being life, we separated ourselves as individuals. And in our individuality, as a smaller bubble, created, manifested our relationship towards all parts of ourselves in each life that we've lived, where all those relationships that we manifested within and as the smaller bubble, eternally imprinted, manifested in and as the substance of existence as the larger bubble. And so I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed our existence as our creation to become a conglomeration, accumulation of all of our relationship creations throughout our lives, throughout time, as our creation, as the larger bubble, as existence, became the manifestation of how we as individuals and together transformed our equality and oneness into an as absolute separation, where each individual took all parts within and as existence and created, manifested an individual relationship towards all parts within and as existence. And so the larger bubble became a manifestation of each individual smaller bubble relationships towards all of existence. So I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand that what we have been creating throughout our lives as the smaller bubbles within the larger bubbles was an entire existence of manifested separate relationship lines, where every time we rebirth into existence, utilizing that life to further our separation from and of ourselves as existence as a whole. As every rebirth, we continue within the processes of defining ourselves in separation from and of all parts of ourselves that we interact with, creating friction and experience and energy relationship that reverberate, ripple effect, and resonate into an as our entire existence, and so manifest imprint equal to and one with how we manifested, imprinted ourselves with relationship to separation. In each life, leaving our creation processes within and as existence as a whole, and returning, continuing the processes of an as separation, to where we are now within this physical existence, an absolute manifested creation of absolute separation. I commit myself to, through writing, self-forgiveness, and self-corrective application, walk my self-separation manifested as my mind consciousness system, taking those separate relationship lines of an as experience and energy and transforming them into an as a standing of an as equality and oneness with and as me within myself. As I see, realize, and understand that I've accepted and allowed myself to be and become an automated relationship creation machine, perpetuating, accumulating, building relationships of an as separation within and as me, from where I have accepted and allowed myself to live out this separation, and in that living, perpetuate, accumulate, build separation in this without as me, as this physical existence. I commit myself to, through writing, self-forgiveness, and self-corrective application, stop my manifested separation as my mind consciousness system, taking it point by point as I identify, expose, reveal the individual relationship lines of an as me that manifested into an as my thoughts, feelings, emotions, personalities, behaviors, ego, beliefs, ideas, perceptions, interpretations, that has manifested into an entire embodiment of an as separation as my mind consciousness system. And so I commit myself to, as I walk this one life, to finally stop the separation of an as me, as I take relationship line point by point as me, as my mind consciousness system, and transform it into me actually living in an as equality and oneness with myself in my body and in this physical body of an as existence as a whole. I see, realize, and understand that I cannot do this alone, as we are all equally as one responsible for this physical existence. And so I commit myself to, as I walk my individual process, taking responsibility for and as my self-separation, as my mind. That is the process I will walk alone. I stand as a living example for each to take responsibility for their self-separation as their mind, so that we can stand together and take on this physical existence that we created together. As each take a point within this world, and investigate, expose, reveal how we can transform this world system into an as a functioning system of an as equality and oneness, where we can correct our separation, participation in and as on this earth into an as equal and one living. I commit myself to practically utilize my mind consciousness system in and as my processes of and as writing, self-forgiveness, and self-corrective application to assist and support me with identifying, exposing, and revealing my accepted and allowed self-separation from and of all as me, as I see, realize, and understand that the mind has become the embodiment of and as all the relationships I had created, manifested in and as separation of and as me. And so I commit myself to, in this one life, no more accept and allow myself to simply automatically participate in and as the mind of and as manifested separation, creating relationships of separation, but utilize this one life to transform those relationships into and as equal and one living. Because I see, realize, and understand that whatever I accept and allow myself within of myself, I create, manifest, perpetuate in the without of myself. In this, I commit myself to utilize this one life to establish solutions to and as this world system as me. As I walk my equality and oneness within, I assist and support myself to establish solutions of and as equality and oneness in and as the without as myself. To in this one life become a living example for the generations to come, to stopping separation as relationship creations of friction, experience, energy within and as a mind consciousness system, and transform themselves into living beings of and as equality and oneness. So we start the process of imprinting, manifesting equality and oneness within ourselves and our living that will imprint, manifest within as this physical existence, as we stand together and walk together and eventually become a stand within and as this world that will in fact bring real physical change to how we've accepted and allowed ourselves to live, participate in this physical existence on this earth.